Before you waste your time overthinking, stay with me for a few minutes. I'm going to tell you how I beat overthinking. The problem is not in overthinking. The problem is that you don't decide. And if you don't decide, your mind is jumping between ideas, between topics, subjects. What you should do is use the proven Ben Franklin method. Take a list of paper and write down the problem or the goal you're working on, and then list out every solution possible, at least 20. It will be hard because you probably have 2, 3 solutions, 5, but to come up with 20 is gonna be super hard. But the thing is that the best solutions usually come after like the 15 or the 16 point, and then just pick one and go with it. And so you will be focused and concentrated, and you will stop overthinking. Second step, journaling. And this is really simple. You take out the journal, but you have to take paper, pen and paper, because phones, computers, it can make you distracted. So the best thing is to take a paper, a pen, and just write down your thoughts. What are you worrying about? What are you can't decide about? What are you overthinking about? The ideas. And when you write it down on paper, you can see it from a different perspective. This alone can help you find the best solution. Just write down every thought you have, and then you will see it differently. Another trick you can use is to look at your problems, look at your thoughts on paper, and think what would you advise to a friend who would share with you this? And you will have another perspective. And then you can think, what would your parents advise you? What would a wise person do? Or you can prompt yourself in different directions and figure out the best solutions. But if you're stuck on too long, then it's gonna be one more ways you procrastinate and overthink about stuff. So the best thing to do is just write down everything on paper and figure out a solution and go with it. Because overthinking is simply eats your soul. Following the same method, you can also just take out your phone, push record, and speak out loud everything you're worrying about, and then it will help you to clarify your mind and come up with the best decision. Another thing to do is to talk to a friend, to a therapist, go to a forum and ask questions anonymously, of course, and then you will have many perspectives, and then you can probably overthink. So just come back to these methods when you write down the problem, you should name the problem, and then come up with 20 solutions. Pick the best solution and go with it, because otherwise you can jump from forums to friends to therapists and never decide. So the thing is that you have to decide and then go with it. The real problem is not overthinking, it's lack of decision. And step 3 is to decide quickly. If you, for example, can't decide what you eat, bam, done. What is healthy and nutritious, you eat. Done. For example, what to wear, done. Because you shouldn't worry about stuff that doesn't really matter too much. It doesn't make sense. Of course, if you need to spend your whole life savings on something, then you need to take time to think, because if you would decide like this, you will have problems for real. There is no perfect decision. Every decision has its own pros and cons, because, for example, I wanted to travel and I thought if I choose a plane and the plane falls, then I'm cooked. If I plan to drive and I sleep behind the wheel, I'm cooked. If I take a train, well, basically in every scenario there could be a dangerous situation. I just should decide. And that time I took a plane and I survived, nothing happened. So you just have to decide and go with your decision. But keep in mind your goal, because sometimes you decide on the wrong stuff and your decision is wrong, and you have to be willing to change the decision. Sometimes I overthink. Sometimes I write down all these 20 solutions. Sometimes I come up with 50 solutions, and then I continue to overthink. My mind gives me more ideas. And if I decide on something, it gives me more and more stuff, And it's difficult. Sometimes I dream to have a mind that is focused and is quiet and has little ideas, not a lot of ideas, because too much ideas is bad. But unfortunately, I read thousands of books and probably thought too much about every aspect of life. So my mind is always giving me something to work on. You need to decide anyway. Pick the decision and go with it, because otherwise you're gonna be stuck forever. If you have any more tips for people who constantly overthinking and cannot stop overthinking, worry, please comment your best advice, because I want to learn as well. As a lifelong overthinker myself, I know a few strategies, but I'm willing to learn more from you. So please give me more ideas. If you're ready to stop overthinking and start deciding and moving forward to the next level, then comment, I choose action.